I'm 57 years old. I've been a dedicated, voter since I was 18 years old. And what have I ever achieved or gained from it?
This week was the Donald Trump town hall on ABC News. I already covered the insanity of Trump's lies during that entire town hall. But I came across an interview afterward with one of the people who asked Donald Trump a question. And I'm going to show you that clip to give you a reminder of what this question was. But her name is Ellesia Blaque, and basically she grilled Trump on healthcare. Now, I assumed, watching this, that this was clearly a Biden voter. But apparently, watching her interview on CNN, she actually had planned not to vote at all. And this gets into a whole can of worms about what Democrats should be worried about because of their terrible track record of actually speaking to the needs of real voters. So I got two clips here. I'm going to show you this first chunk. It's going to be her question and part of the conversation that she had on CNN.
Should pre-existing conditions, which Obamacare brought to fruition, be removed?
No.
Please stop and let me finish my question, sir. Should that be removed within a 36 to 72 hour period without my medication? I will be dead. And I want to know what it is that you're going to do to assure that people like me who work hard, we do everything we're supposed to do, can stay insured. It's not my fault that I was born with this disease. It's not my fault that I'm a black woman and in the medical community I'm minimized and not taken seriously. I want to know what you are going to do about that.
As sick and disabled people who have diseases we cannot control, we were born with and are stuck with for life, we are thrown away like trash. We are treated like he treated me. He fluffed me off like soot on the bottom of his $3,000 pair of shoes. And I resent it. We have a right to live, we have a right to life, and we have a right to be treated equally within the medical community and among insurance companies.
Explain then your reticence to vote and why you think maybe you just aren't going to cast a ballot in November.
Because I'm 57 years old. I've been a dedicated, voter since I was 18 years old. And what have I ever achieved or gained from it? Nothing. I don't care if it was a Democrat, a Republican, Obama, it doesn't matter. I really did not gain much, if anything, from their presidency. So what is the point?
Now, I do have a second clip coming up in a bit here of what made her decide what to do in November. But first up, her question, I dealt with Trump's BS to that question in my video yesterday. He goes on to pretend he's going to cover, pre-existing conditions. Trump has no health care plan. He's been actively fighting the ACA, which covers pre-existing conditions. So Trump has no health care plan at all, is trying to repeal the ACA. She absolutely would be impacted by that. Of course, Obamacare is nowhere near what needs to be done. People need Medicare for all. They need a single payer system. You need everybody on the same health care plan, paying into the same system. Freedom of choice when it comes to doctor, provider. Your Congress people, the wealthiest people in the country would be on the same healthcare plan as you would be. So how bad can it really get? Anyways, as somebody who lives in a single payer system, I've discussed this a million times. I understand the insane amount of misinformation put out there from insurance companies and the right, and also Democrats about Medicare for all. So Medicare for all is what people need. But apart from that actual policy issue, Democrats have to worry about voters like this. They have let people down again and again and again and again. And I think Obama's campaign or his presidency really broke a lot of people because he ran as somebody who was going to be different. He ran on hope and change. He ran on changing Washington. And what happened? As she said, how did she gain? It was status quo. And maybe the best thing Obama did was the Iran deal. But ACA, I guess, gets a mention here because it did improve healthcare somewhat, but it was still a Republican healthcare plan from the 90s. It's still a private insurance-based system. So this is the issue that Democrats have. Even when they have run on doing something different, it hasn't been different. Now, of course, when we get into the discussion on the GOP, well, you can completely forget about it. I mean, the Republican Party is not even not going to do anything for you. They are actively working against your best interests. So a vote for the Democratic Party is basically just the neoliberal status quo. But there is different energy in the country now. After the failure of Obama's 8 years, you had a lot of excitement around Bernie Sanders. People wanted a true change, or a real change, a progressive change. They want Medicare for all. They want higher wages. They want free college. They want a completely reimagined foreign policy. That's what Bernie Sanders offered. And you saw after 4 years of Trump, what happened? Basically, the bar was lowered to the point that Joe Biden became an acceptable nominee. There was actually more energy, more excitement, more support for Bernie in 2016. He got further in 2016 after Obama's 8 years. But Trump lowered the bar to the point that Joe Biden became an acceptable Democratic nominee, which shows you why another 4 years of Trump isn't going to make anything better. I mean, I hope that's obvious, but you can just see direct what happened after 4 years. Bernie did worse in the primary against Biden than he did against Hillary Clinton. And this voter, at least up to this point, did not plan to vote. Before I move on to what she is planning to do now, I want to show you this poll here from USC Dornsife Daybreak poll. So this gives you a little idea of how voters who didn't vote in 2016 or voted third party, how they're going to vote this time. So this is as of August 20th, 2020. So for voters that voted for Trump in 2016, of course, most of them, 88%, plan to vote for Trump again. 9% voting for Biden, and 4% voting for another candidate. Of 2016 Clinton voters, 92%, of course, going to vote for Biden. But here, 4% of Trump voters in 2016 are going to vote for Biden this time around, and 4% third party. But this is what I find really interesting here. Third party voters and non-voters. So 2016 third party voters, 41%, a plurality, are going to vote for Joe Biden this time, compared to 30% for Trump and 28% for a third party. Non-voters, this, you could argue, matters the most here. 2016 non-voters, 52% of them are planning to vote for Biden. That's massive. And as you're going to see from the second clip, this lady here, again, let me get her name, Ellesia Blaque, is now part of that statistic. So what is the point?
And that's where I was until I got home last night.
And
the
now?
person who drove me home is a newly minted citizen from Turkey. And we were talking about his family in Istanbul and making comparisons. And he's so grateful to be in the United States and excited to cast his vote. How dare I, an American-born citizen, not cast one of my own? And that's what changed my mind. So I am voting for the Biden-Harris ticket. And even though I do so with trepidation, I am, as you can partially see behind me, I'm a James Baldwin fan. And the year I was born in 1963, James Baldwin said that he can't be a pessimist because he is alive. And so neither can I. I'm going to go ahead and put my heart on the line again. And I'm going to go ahead and cast that ballot and keep my fingers crossed and pray to my God that maybe this time somebody will hear my tears and feel my pain and feel the tears and pain of tens of millions of people across America who are disabled, who are sick, who are underinsured, uninsured, or pay stacks of cash to be insured, whose life is something that is a gift. Sooner or later, the sarcoidosis of my brain is going to make me have a stroke or just kill me flat out. And the older I get, the closer it gets. But I'm going to go ahead and use these years that I have left and have faith in the country in which I was born. I teach the Constitution for a living. I believe in it. And I'm going to go ahead and go with my gut and cast that ballot and hope that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will do right by people like me, because this isn't about just me. This is about millions just like me.
She's voting for Biden. Now, let me correct myself a little bit here. I'm not positive. I'm not sure if she didn't vote in 2016 or not. So she may not be a part of this statistic. But she would have been a part of the 2020 non-voter statistic had she not had that car ride home, I guess. But this is a very unique time where there should be a little more clarity now on how Trump did not change the conversation, or I should say he changed the conversation, but did not change the inclinations of Democratic voters to move more left. As I said earlier, all he did was lower the bar to the point that Joe Biden is an acceptable Democratic nominee. In 4 more years of Trump, what might happen then? Lower the bar so far that Chris Coons is an acceptable Democratic nominee. So you really have to view it that way in terms of strategy. Understand voting is a tool. And apart from that, though, look, I think a lot of these people exist. This isn't somebody who is shit posting on Twitter. This isn't somebody who is a birdie or buster. This is somebody who just sees that the Democratic Party has not helped her life, that she has voted for them again and again and again. And as she said, what did she get from it? But then sometimes you need a little perspective, a little clarity, and understand that many people around the world don't even have the ability to vote for their leaders. And that, I mean, the way I view it, though, this election is just, it's ending the era of Trump. It's getting that disaster out and getting to a point where you have the ability here to dump a massive crisis on a neoliberal Democratic Party, at least Democratic leadership, that simply does not have the answers. It is the best recruiting tool right now. Dump this pandemic, this economic disaster on a Democratic White House. Show people that Joe Biden, Kamala Harris don't have what it takes to actually change what is necessary. And then show people another way. And it's going to be a lot easier when you have people in Congress like AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Jamal Bowman now, Cory Bush now, of course, Bernie Sanders in the Senate, and several others fighting for that different vision. So it's not just going to be people on YouTube or the occasional guest, the rare guest on CNN or MSNBC that punctures the narrative. It's going to be actual members of Congress presenting a different vision, fighting with Democratic leadership in the public eye for that different vision, while Joe Biden, Kamala Harris don't offer people what they need to be able to survive.